he does. I think he's taken this program to heights that is what most programs dream about. They've won a national championship. Of course, you want to win more. They've been to, this is what, the 8th Final Four under Tom Izzo? Mm-hmm. It's been a fantastic program. The elite program of the Big Ten, one of the elite programs in all of college basketball. I don't think he needs it to validate it, but if he does, then that's his own thing. It's whatever drives him and keeps him moving forward, that he's got goals to reach and he's not resting on anything. That's fine.
Yeah, I think these are things that, once you have one, you want two, and once you have two, you want three, and once you have three, you want four. You always want another one. But I kind of feel like once you've got one, you're good. You're good. You don't need to validate anything. I don't think he needs to validate anything. But, like you said, in the moment, what drives you, because it's hard work, right? Preparing for opponents, recruiting, being on the road all the time. I mean, it's difficult work. And complacency could set in late in a career. So if you're trying to make sure you don't lose anything, that might be really, really, really super important. And you make it even more important because of how hard these jobs are.
Well, look, I could read a lot into it if I want to, and I'll try to a little bit. I think he wants that second championship before he even thinks about retiring. And I don't know how old Izzo is. I think he's in mid-60s here. But is he thinking about it? I'm sure that it's...
Imagine it's coming soon.
Yeah, at some point. And, there are other... I don't know what his other goals in life are. At one point, maybe it was to be in the NBA. Now, probably not. Maybe he doesn't have those aspirations anymore. But winning a championship at Michigan State has always been an aspiration and a goal. Every year, that's the goal, is to win the national championship. And that's the kind of program he's built. And this year, I can't imagine how incredibly satisfying this season has been for him as a coach. You suffer a major injury to one of your major players who's out for the year halfway through the season. Then you lose another player for a stretch, and clearly Nick Ward is not 100%, but he's playing. You lose Kyle Ahrens, who's been in and out of the lineup all season long and his entire career at Michigan State because of injuries. People have counted Michigan State out, myself included, and didn't think they were going to beat Duke until, this past weekend. I started thinking maybe they could because the way Duke was playing in the tournament, but going into it, no way. No way. I didn't think they were going to beat Duke. What a satisfying run this has been, and it ain't over. They got a game Saturday night against Texas Tech, a very good Texas Tech team, and if they win that, then they can play for a national championship, which is his ultimate goal. This has to be an incredibly satisfying season to this point.
I'm going to disagree with you guys. I think he does need one more championship to validate. I mean, for himself, that's his personal thing. He said, he needs it for himself, not for anybody else. But as a fan, a member of the media, I think to be considered as one of the all-time greats, you need multiple championships. Okay, he's a great coach. All-time greats, you need more than one. And I know it's different in college basketball because Final Fours, everyone celebrates making it to the semifinals. It's a big deal. And I understand why it's a big deal, but that's not winning at all. I mean, Jay Wright has 2. Billy Donovan has 2. Roy Williams. Dean Smith only has 2, but he's got multiple. I think Tom Izzo, for validation of the all-time greats, needs just one more. And I'm not saying he's a great coach, but all-time great, I think he needs one more.
You're not saying he's not a great coach?
No, he's a great coach, but not one of the all-time greats. He's a rarefied air. You need more than one championship. You just do. You can't just win it once.
You make a strong point, but here's the problem with college basketball programs. Oftentimes are measured by Final Four appearances. And I know that's not the ultimate crown, but it's a weird dynamic. Everybody puts a banner up for a Final Four appearance. Everybody does. It's so hard to do, and he's been there so many times that your point, I'm listening to him, I'm like, God, he sounds right. Honestly, you sounded right. But there's a strange, I would normally agree with you, but there's a strange thing in college basketball. We're getting to the semifinal.
It almost seems good enough, but it's
right,
not, Doug. It's
right.
just not.
Well, there have only been 4 coaches in history that have had more Final Four appearances than Tom Izzo. But I understand what you're saying, Kang, with that second championship. And I think he's already one of the elite coaches, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a Spartan, but at the 8, I mean, it's 8 Final Four appearances. How many times has he been to the championship game? You know, a couple more times in there, aside from winning it in 2000.
He's been there twice to the championship game. I just think one more really validates and put the stamp on. You know, I'm up there with Dean Smith, Roy Williams, those other guys. But right now it's one championship.
The other story that had a ton of hits on our website today, and I was surprised by that, but the fact that the Spartan Band has apparently lost its spot on the team plane and will now bus to Minneapolis. They lost the spot on the team plane so the Board of Trustees could fly on the team plane. This is the type of thing.
It's a bad look.
It really is, because if the Board of Trustees isn't in Minneapolis, does anyone here, A, notice, or B, care?
I'll answer the first part first. Nobody notices.
Now answer the second part.
Okay. Nobody cares.
If the band doesn't go to Minneapolis, does anybody, A, notice, or B, care?
Let me answer the first part. People notice when the band's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Second part. People care that the band's not there. Now, how many people are in part? Now, this may be much ado about nothing here, maybe a little fudging with numbers. Board of Trustees is how many people?
8.
Okay. Are they bringing? Is it Board of Trustees plus a member of their family they can bring with them, a spouse? Let's double it and say 16. Let's make it 20 seats. How many people are in the band that would travel?
Probably about that many. I don't think. I don't know how many basketball bands aren't.
It's not
huge.
obviously it's not the same as the marching band, but
Yep.
Is it 20? Is it 40 people?
It's
I
not,
mean, if it's apples and apples, if it's the same amount of people, then it's shameful, because the Board of Trustees, you guys can pay your own way.
Well,
or whatever, charter a bus.
The only thing I don't want to see is John Engler sitting courtside.
No.
Like that's the bad look that continues to happen. But the Board of Trustees, at some point you say, you know what, this has been the right of every Board of Trustees ever before, but right now maybe let's not. Do you remember when the Ford executives flew private jets to Washington to ask for money?
Yeah.
And they got slammed for it, and everybody said that's a really bad look when you're going there and asking for money. And so then they drove. The next time they went back, everybody drove.
Right. They were shamed into driving.
There's some time.
Rather than using the resource that they actually had, which was my issue with it.
But it was a bad look. Sometimes you should pass on things because it's a bad look, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a bad look.
It's a bad look.
248-539-9797. Ticket text 97136. It's Karsch and Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket.